Hello, I am Dr. Esparza, and I have a guest with me who is from the Bay Area. Please let me welcome Butch Escobar.
Hello.
Why are you gay?
I'm not gay. Who's gay?
I said you're gay.
I am lesbian.
Lesbian. Then who's gay?
I'm not gay. Who's gay?
You gay.
I'm not gay. I'm lesbian.
You like women.
I like women.
Welcome to History for Fools, people. Right here, mate. Shout out to Crystal Palace. Last week, they won with double overtime with 9 players left. Shout out to Daniel Munoz, who hit the winning goal, man. And they're like in 11th place right now, and they're going to be doing good. My wife got me an early Christmas birthday present. It's a Crystal Palace beanie.
Love that.
Never existed, mate. What's up?
What's Crystal Palace?
It's the name of the team of in South London.
Okay.
In London, yeah. They're a soccer team.
Okay.
They're called the Crystal Palace Eagles.
Nice.
They've been around since 1907 or something. And they play in Selhurst Field in South London. And it's very
Did you go to a game?
yeah, me and Rodrigo and Lisa and everybody.
How was it?
Loud, bro. They don't let you drink in the building.
Oh, because people get fucked up and fuck each
Yeah,
other up.
you gotta drink your beer inside the stands, outside the stands, and then down it, bro, and then go back and watch the game.
Do people still get pretty fucked up at those games?
They probably get fucked up before the show, before the game, bro.
Right.
And man, when you go in there, bro, it's weird. It's not like a Dodger Stadium, bro. They have a sliding door, but it's like your whole body slide, not just your waist.
Oh, really?
You know what? It's a panel, I guess. You know, with bars.
Uh-huh.
Like you're going into a prison and shit.
Wow. Yeah, I heard, and then you have to go on separate sides, right?
Yeah, one side with the other side, and yeah, man, it was crazy, man. They don't sell alcohol in the stands, and they also
Got it.
they sell minced pies.
What's minced pie?
It's a pie with meat inside of it, bro.
Meat, right?
Just all black
Savory.
in there. I got a
Can you show
vegan
me?
one
Yes.
of those.
I've never eaten these before.
They're good.
Are they good?
I had a vegan one in
I'm
there.
a little worried that they have like liver and shit in there.
Well, they probably have everything in there.
I'm not a liver. Yeah, that's the thing is that minced meat sounds like mechanically separated chicken.
You're Mexican, bro. We just put lemon on it. Everything's good.
I'm Mexican, but I'm not that Mexican.
I wouldn't even ask what's in there, bro. One time I went to dim sum, and they were just bringing different things, and I was just putting it in my mouth. And later on, I found out that one of them was shrimp. And then when I was thinking about it, I was like, I've seen a size of a shrimp, you know, right? I'm pretty sure that they're not making a whole 1.5 inch ball of real shrimp to make this dim sum. They probably mix the shrimp with a bunch of different spices and vegetables and boil it up.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing is I don't trust ground up seafood. Period. Like I'm not like whenever they're like, oh, this is ground fish, I'm like, then I'm fucking gonna pass. Like I'm particular about fish because like it has to be pretty much caught fresh. I won't have fucking fish inland. Like when we're in Kansas and shit, I'm not having sushi.
In the middle of nowhere now.
I don't know where the fuck that came from and how long it took to get
Sometimes
here.
I think about it like this, man. Like when they saw like we have the best fish and you're like in the middle of America, I always ask myself, would I buy a fish here in 1847?
No. The answer easily is no.
Even if they got that brought that fish from the Mississippi River.
Oh no.
First of all, they didn't know it. Still, even if they put salt on that fish and dried it up and made it jerky, it still won't be good by the time.
I'm not gonna be good if you throw me back into 1847. Like if you're like you got to live here for at least a week, Like you had a time machine, I don't think I would survive that at all. Like it's just I can't imagine being without showers. I can't imagine like what the food is gonna be like because there's no preservation methods. There's no fucking refrigerators. There's just throw salt on it and then dilute it in water. And then you make that as a soup, like salt pork or salt fish is what they like. Salt cod, that's what they like. What are the Scandinavians used to survive off of?
The refrigeration. The guy who invented refrigeration, he invented frozen food, but didn't have the technology to put it out there yet. Bird's eye.
Is that real?
Bird's eye fish?
Really?
Yeah, the History for Foods. Welcome to History for Foods. There's a little snippet on we're talking fish and frozen. The guy from Bird's Eye, he invented refrigeration, bro. And he kept practicing over and over. How am I gonna freeze it? How am I gonna freeze this? And he started freezing vegetables, and he was like killing it, bro. But locally, with frozen stuff, and what's his name? Margaret Post from Post Cereal.
Okay.
Her father had died, right? And she wanted to buy. Her father had died. She took over the company, and she started buying like different companies. And she went to Bird's Eye, and she goes to him. I want to buy your company. And then she goes, well, not for sale. I know. I want to buy the whole company. This company. I know. I want to buy your whole company. He goes, I also want to hire you for $2 million a year to run it. And back then, bro, that was a lot of money, dog.
$2 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, so what she did was she bought the company and then she patented in the refrigerating part because that's what she wanted mainly.
She didn't give a fuck about everything else.
She wanted the refrigeration, and she knew she couldn't run it without him, so she hired him because she knew that this guy was ahead of his time.
Right.
So she started like selling the refrigeration part to the supermarket. She said, "Listen, man, I got a way to keep your fish fresh, but I have frozen fish, and I got the technology. I'm gonna sell you and rent you a whole refrigeration system to keep our products in there."
Dude, think about
Marjorie Post. How intelligent this woman
is. This is where Post cereal comes from as well.
Yeah, Marjorie Post. Her father, she came in there, and then Bird's Eye, bro. Bird's Eye, that's him right there, bro.
Oh, that's Bird's Eye. Yeah. I see that all the time. I didn't even bro, you see that in the...
But Bird's Eye, the guy invented the refrigeration.
That was a good connection there. Good job, dude. Good job. Shout out to Ray, dude, for fucking... Because I'm like, oh, okay, Bird's Eye, whatever, and then I see that symbol. I buy that shit all the time. I never even look to see that the label...
Yeah, he studied how to do that forever, bro. Like, this is before, like, I don't know how much power, electricity he used to do this.
Wait a minute. So he made the refrigeration just for his shit, didn't give a fuck if it was... he didn't even think this is an invention that the
That's
world
like we invented a weed roller without people inventing paper yet.
Wow. Bro, that's okay. Think about this though. Like there's certain inventions in time that have like made like soap. You think about soap, like the invention of soap, and then now we can clean our hands and there's less disease. Boom. Like just that tiny little speck of invention pushed the human race so much farther forward. And then same with like refrigeration. Because like now we could keep different foods and then we're able to store it. We don't have to go to the store all the time. We don't have to have fresh food. Now you could get processed food, stuff like that. And again, think of like how that changed the game forever, dude.
Changed the game, bro. And like, but it took a very intelligent person like Marjorie Post to see the future, bro. And like there it is, man. Like, and now she owns. When she had this, bro, she had her Post cereal, of course, and then she had she started buying like other companies, bro.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to me too.
And refrigeration pretty much saved America from starving, bro, because now we could store food forever instead of using it now.
Right.
And getting back to fish.
Right.
Let's go back to 1847.
Okay.
Why would I eat fish in 1847?
Right.
And he said, you wouldn't because refrigeration, none of that shit exists yet.
So it's just salty, gross, smelly fish, which is what the Scandinavians used to do to store fish. And then a lot of Asian cultures do it too. You know, you walk into that Asian store and you hit that smell hits you, that like fresh, that not fresh smell. And you're like, oh my God, that's what that is. It's dried up fish.
Bro, your mom is so old. Your mother used to fight under General Mills. The cereal
Bro,
brigade.
You want to know something else?
The cereal brigade.
Here's another like history for fools tidbit that I could give you guys too, that I learned during what we're going to talk about later. So, you know, when we're on, you know, you type on the keyboard, it's QWERTY, QUWERTY, right?
What's it again?
QWERTY is the keyboard it's what we call our keyboards, right? It's the style of keyboard that we use. You know, the middle line is QWERTY. It's where we base our fingers, and I've never even thought about how come we don't just have.
And your uncle invented it.
How come you don't have your keyboard? No. How come you don't have your keyboard A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
Yeah, why, bro?
Because it was, at the time the keyboard was made, it was too quick. People were typing too quick and it was jamming up the keyboard. Awesome. So the guy who made this wanted to confuse people a little bit, so it took him a little longer to type so it didn't jam up the keyboard. And then Remington was making sewing machines, decided to make the first like typewriters. And that was the standard. So when you went to keyboard school or typewriting school, you used Remington's typewriters.
Yeah.
And then so every keyboard maker ever since then, and every typewriter maker has used the QWERTY style fashion, and that's it. That's the only reason why we did it. That's like,
but also the typewriters were made like that because people were typing too fast.
Yeah, like the original ones.
Messing up the ribbon, huh?
I don't know how that worked, but I just let it, because they were the book that I read for this was doing a study how human beings find the common ways to do stuff. Or like, you know, something that we think is unique isn't necessarily that unique. Like what he was saying is that the study showed that something like this was something that we were going to end up doing anyway, but it would have been different letters or something like that. But it just showed the fact that, or just was interesting to me, that like it wasn't out of any other thing, that it was a marketing thing, or it was like a small, not a marketing thing, I'm sorry, a small invention that like, okay, this one guy who made this first keyboard, it kept breaking. And because people were typing too fast. And so he was like, he went to a guy and said, how do I redesign this so that they type slower? And then so he mixed up all the letters so that people could type slower. And then now that's why we have this. No other reason. Not because it's like better for your fingers or your eyes, like habituate to it quicker. It's just because that shit happened.
How about the number on the side?
The numbers on the side, I don't know how that worked. I didn't look into that, but I'm pretty good with that. I'm fast with those. But this,
I'm good with this now, bro, but
can you type?
I could type without looking though. No.
No way. See,
I know how to type my name. I know like in my head, I know.
That's such a graduation for me.
Like at me, bro, I know that my finger, I know the F is gonna be right here already. I know the E is gonna be over there, and the L is gonna be right here, and the I is gonna be right here, and the P is gonna be right here,
right.
And then the E, then the S is gonna be over there, and the P is gonna be right here, and the R is gonna be way over here, and the Z is right here.
Yeah, that's beyond me, dude.
But that's gonna be something that's gonna be lost in the future. How people are gonna know how to do that?
Well, because we're doing this, maybe, but we're still doing.
But I hated that on the phone. Sometimes it's not the way you're talking about.
Right.
Like when you go look up a movie, it's not using the way we're used to typing.
Right.
And it becomes slower.
Right.
Netflix, for example, like when you go look for a movie, it's not written the way you're talking about. the Q word, whatever it's called.
QWERTY.
Yeah, it's not set up that way.
Right.
When you search for things.
Oh, you're right. It is. It's abacadabra. Yeah.
And it fucking slows your ass down.
It does. Now because we're used to the other way. That's the thing is that.
Keep it standard.
Yeah. Keep it standard. But that's how we are as human beings. And a lot of times it's like, we won't do this, like even marketing, like there's certain products that we get in a certain color because we won't buy it if it doesn't have a color in it.
Like Band-Aids. If it's not red, nobody buying them. First aid kit. If it ain't red, nobody buying them.
Right. Or cleaners. Like if the cleaner's clear, which we can make cleaner clear, we won't buy it. Like markets show that Americans won't buy it because it doesn't look effective.
Like what?
Like when you buy your Pine Sol, it's not brown because that's the color that it came when they made it. Like they added the color of brown to it. Like Fabuloso is a bright purple because it looks effective. You know that strong. Pink shit? Yeah, it looks strong. But you don't need that shit in there. Like almost none of that shit actually has.
Like nobody's gonna buy bleach if it was brown color.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm trying to take shit out.
You want your bleach clear, brown. But that's the thing is that whatever it first came as, maybe Pine Sol was dark at first because of like the derivatives of what they used, but they were able to now take it out and have a clear, pure product. But then
also, white people will buy something.
Exactly.
Back in the day, they'll buy something that had the word white in it.
Oh yeah, that's not a.
Remember that Snow White, white snow detergent? What was it called?
Snow White detergent. Yeah. That's how fucking Ray's over there cracking up, but that's a real thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what we're gonna get into is how fucking racist we are as a fucking. This is the thing is like
no, that's how it started. There it is, white. There it is.
Yeah.
Ivory snow, bro. Well,
yeah, you want your detergent to be white,
Yeah.
Why? Because why would I want it to be a different color?
Look at Blanca Nieves.
That's the thing too.
If you're a conspiracy theorist, a crazy person, you'd be like talking about like, you see, man, they've been putting white in our heads ever since.
Oh. I used to like the analogy on Boomerang. Remember that movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy? And I think it's like David Allen Greer's in it or somebody. And he's talking about how like the game of pool is about like world dominance. And it's the white wall.
David Allen Greer said that?
I think in that movie, I could be totally wrong.
It's the white man.
Yeah, this is the white man's trying to push balls into the holes. But he's like, look, and then the final one is what? The black ball.
A ball.
Yeah. So,
malt liquor.
But I think, there's conspiracies.
So they've been giving me a ball malt liquor throughout the game.
Trying to poison us.
Yeah, man. And if it was a white ball, it's always a white man with sticks trying to fuck you up.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think anything is like that. I don't have a conspiracy like that.
I don't either, man. But sometimes you meet people, you're like, all right, man, I'm just here to get my driver license, bro.
Yeah, I'm here to just buy groceries, dude. I
don't like when people support. I don't like when. Well, I like any kind of praise, good or bad. I wish the bad praise would come in person instead of from family members disguising themselves as Mencia.
Dude, if you're me, go into the comments on these videos. There's a lot of bad praise, a lot of good.
I know, man.
Good bad praise in there.
You write something, yeah, man. I heard his breath on that comment. I heard this in Felipe's voice.
Yeah, or like there's so much. I logged on this last time though to our live.
Hey, scientists always get it wrong, right? They're wrong. Hypotheses, right?
Hypothesis.
Like they recently found out that the people who wrote the scriptures in the pyramids, the scriptures,
right?
That they were actually not the people who built the pyramids, and they were not even around when the pyramids were built. It was just people who came in and later on broke in and started writing graffiti in there.
See, that's the thing, and again, man.
But then that's scientists believe though, because scientists back then said this is, which brings me back to this story, bro. And shout out to Gabriel Iglesias, man, who got his fingerprints on the Chinese Theater. You know, his hands are there enshrined forever on cement with all the greats like Clint Eastwood, Sylvester Stallone, probably
That's
Bruce
in front
Lee.
of the Chinese theater.
Yeah,
right? That's
and
so huge, dude.
Shirley Temple, all these actresses, you know, and so I was now thinking about the pyramids in the scriptures when I saw Gabriel getting enshrined right there on cement. That 500 years from now, if there's no more world, you know, and scientists dig up Hollywood, California, you know, archaeologists of the future, they're gonna see Gabriel's big ass fingerprints right there on the cement, and they're gonna see Shirley Temple's tiny ass hands over there, and they're gonna see Meg Ryan's little baby hands over there, and this scientist is gonna come up with, all right, I figured this out. This fucking big ass bear right here.
I knew you were going here.
Ate Shirley Temple. Ate Shirley Temple. And then ate Meg Ryan and had a fight with this Eastwood person.
They're
gonna think that because that scientist at this time when he digs up there it is. When he digs up that thing right there, he ain't gonna know that Gabriel was a comedian at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
It's been 500 years.
Yeah.
So they're gonna know this. So somebody again, when time comes up again, and they find a tape recorder or a CD player, and they see the name, and they go, "Oh wait, we had it all wrong. This guy Gabriel Iglesias was a leader of the free world."
Yeah. Well,
because they're gonna get it wrong,
right?
Just like when, like if the world ends right now and they dig up downtown Los Angeles,
right?
They're gonna think that TDK built this building right here,
right?
Because there's graffitis on the building.
You're right. Yeah, I think about that. I remember one time we were all gathering. You know, when you go to
But the whole thing about the great about science is that it keeps correcting itself.
Right. Well, it has
and
to.
And then never with
these are hypotheses.
It's a fact. It was a fact. Scientists say, bro, scientists are there to leave something behind, so the next person come along and see what's up
and reinvestigate it.
That's what we are at History for Fools, San Patricios.
We're just re-investigators.
But am I wrong, bro? Like somebody's gonna go and go, hey man, this bear.
Well, I think about
ate these little bears.
So this shit is hilarious. I was at Disneyland one time at California, the California Disney, and you have that big Ferris wheel with the fucking huge Mickey on the center of it. And I was like, bro, what happens if we're all gone and then aliens come or another civilization comes like 1,000 years from now? And there's shirts, there's fucking all this shit. And then and then you come to this place and there's this huge, big wheel with this guy in the middle. People are going to think we fucking just been out here fucking worshiping rats. You know, like just like they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is wrong with these motherfuckers?" Dude?
Well, no wonder the world ended.
Yeah,
they're worshiping rats.
Like, what a bunch of savage, stupid idiots out here worshiping. They built a whole shrine, this whole park. I don't even know what it is. There's like tracks. There's a train, and it's. And then they're gonna make something up. Who knows, dude? Like,
that's what. So basically, what you're saying is that those big old Tibetan statues that Saddam Hussein blew up were just three fools that were in charge of some amusement park for Indochina.
That's really
the 7 BC.
Yeah, that could be it.
Hey,
yeah.
he blew up Six Flags Sichuan.
It was just an amusement park. It was like their Chuck E. Cheese.
and they're all mad. And they're all mad now.
We're all mad. We don't even know.
But you're right,
mad.
bro. You can remember, like, we always think we're civilized, but whoever finds us, they're gonna think we were uncivilized.
We're fucking savages.
They're gonna think we're savages,
bro.
They're gonna think these people used to put live people in baskets and bury them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They used to punish people and bury them.
Yeah, that's the thing is they're gonna go to Disneyland and then the thing you take across, they're gonna be like they would put the slaves in that thing, and then shell them across from one side to the other, and then the mouse would fuck them, and then so they would make up something like the mouse would fucking sodomize them. And then they felt free after that. Who knows what they're gonna come up
and then
with, dude.
they're gonna be like, and then they're gonna be like this. They're gonna be like, oh my God, these mouse places all over the world.
They're everywhere.
Because all they're gonna see is a big M.
Yeah.
For all the McDonald's all over the world.
Oh, and they're gonna relate it.
They're gonna be, oh, mouse, M. These are their churches.
Because they're not gonna know that.
They're gonna think McDonald's is churches.
That's the thing is our alphabet is gonna be just symbolization to them. It's not gonna have the same meaning because they're not gonna be able to get. You're not gonna be able to find out what the sound M makes.
No, they're gonna see Mickey Mouse and Big M on that big statue. That's their dude. And then they will see all the McDonald's all over the world, and they're gonna think about M. Oh, these are their churches.
Yeah. Exactly.
They will come here and get fat and poison themselves.
Right. And we were sacrificing ourselves. That's how they'll look at it. We would come and sacrifice our lot, and we worship this like Coke thing. You know, they'll make up a thing about Coke because Coke is everywhere, and Coke and Disneyland work together. Coke and Disney work together. Dude, yeah, we need to leave a fucking note. We need to leave a note.
Fuck. You don't read that note and think this person's crazy, bro.
Trying to explain it?
I guess
they find it, they're all, it's just gibberish. It's some wacko ranting about how this was an amusement park and people would come here to have fun.
This guy doesn't look funny.
Yeah.
He looks unhealthy.
This must have been the person that was on that drug acid. Because that's the thing I think about the Bible, bro. Someone wrote this shit.
They're gonna take up a picture of a person just like Mickey Mouse in Hollywood, California, or New York, frozen stiff.
Had to get
cancer.
They
were worshiping of this little fucker.
And then you go to Chuck E. Cheese, and it's like a rattier version of it. Yeah.
They're gonna dig him up and go and find a little Peruvian, Mexican, Venezuelan guy. Okay, trendy agua was a threat.
Agua. That's the thing is like you think about the Bible, bro. Like, how do we know that David and Goliath might have been just a big dude like me? It's like me versus Ray. You know what I mean? Like,
I think. How do we know that, bro? Because you know what, bro? Every time I beat somebody's ass, they were taller, bro. Every time I drank one beer, I drank 7, bro.
Yeah.
I told very people I drank 8. I got jumped by one. I got beat the fuck up by one person.
Yeah.
Him and his homies jumped me, bro.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, bro.
What if that's just...
Hey, bro, people gonna say that was Butch right there.
Look at there's me and Mickey. They're gonna unearth videos of us doing the History for Fools, and then be like, "This guy was related to this guy."
You're right about David and Goliath, bro.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure David, beat the shit out of him. That was the truth. But when by the time he told the story, bro, nah, man, that fool was a giant, dog.
He was huge, bro. Yeah, he went back to the homies and was like, bro, you guys wouldn't believe. He fucked up some crippled dude. And then by the time he got to the homie's house, it was a big ass fool, bro.
He probably was waiting for him over on top of a cliff, bro. And then when he was walking by, David threw a big boulder over his head, bro. And smashed his ass. And then he goes, fuck that fool, bro. I beat that fool with a slingshot.
He fucking sucker punched him. And then this guy was just coming home with the groceries. He was just going to feed his family.
He just had 2 pieces of fish,
and
bro.
This old punk-ass motherfucker.
He just probably has his rations from the Romans.
David rolls up with an Edgar haircut.
He invented a crane, but he didn't even know how.
Oh fuck, bro. That's good. That's good history right there.
I know he probably lied when he got back. What happened, David?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I heard you beat up that. I heard you beat up that Bigfoot Goliath. Oh, bro, he wasn't that Bigfoot. I thought it was a giant. Bro.
It was a giant, dude.
You fucking hit him with one rock? Yeah, man, one rock.
Yeah, he just went down, bro. Like, put it in my slingshot. Meanwhile, there's fucking 6'1" dude laying on the ground with a hole in his head.
They said his whole head was smashed. Yeah, man. Packs a punch. You know what they say, bro? The harder they fall, the bigger the other, harder they fall. You're the first one to say that. Spread it. And nobody ever said that before, David, bro.
Yeah, that's good.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Run with it.
Run with it. Coined. Now move along.
Something I always feel like history was exaggerated, bro.
I think a lot of history was exaggerated.
The winners write the history.
Well, I've learned, over time since we've been doing this, you grow up going to high school and doing your history classes, and you go, this is how it happened because that's what my fucking teachers told me. But when you read, bro, when we first started doing this, I would buy like 2 or 3 different books from 2 or 3 different people, read them all, and then all of them had minor conflicting information. It wasn't like huge. Sometimes it would be huge. Sometimes it would be like the dates were all fucked up. But even doing this, well, thank you. But even doing this, this particular podcast, because we're going to talk about the San Patricios, or the battalion San Patricio, which was during the Mexican-American War. The battalion San Patricios. And that's the battalion St. Patrick's. It's a bunch of Irish guys. Anyway.
Battalion,
before I get there, yeah, battalion. Before I get there, I just want to explain. I had to read a few different accounts, and that was the things. I actually chose this because I thought it was going to be easy. Something told me to get started almost as soon as we got out of the last podcast, because I had to do so much research, because there's 2 different sides of the story. There's the American side, and then there's the Mexican side.
Want to hear my side?
Even the Mexican-American War isn't called the Mexican-American War in Mexico. It's called the War
of 1812.
No, oh man, what is it? Intervention. It was the War of Intervention. It was called the War of Intervention, which basically was like, we need to stop these people from coming into our country.
When this happened, the whole state of Texas, which was now Texas, was belonged to California, or Spain, right?
Belonged to originally it was Spain. Then when Mexico had their revolution, which wasn't easy. That's the thing.
Mexico had a lot of land they couldn't control, huh?
Lots of land they couldn't control.
They didn't have they were not even which is I hate to say that, but I don't hate to say that, but. That would happen when you don't have a strong middle class.
Right.
It was all rich,
right,
powerful people that were like behind desks, and everybody else that was just poor.
Right. And that's the thing is like...
And the poor people were the ones that were fighting, huh?
Dude, what's weird, I don't want to say this either. I hate saying this. But when we sit here and we go, they stole our land. Technically, they did steal our land. But really, nobody was controlling any of this.
It's like it was open space. Like,
bro, like when you go up to California, go up to California really quick. Is California? Oh yeah, see, there's Texas, and then there's Alta California.
You know, all that was Mexico, huh?
Okay, all that's Mexico. The reason why all of that is fucking gray is because it was like not researched. It hadn't been like, it was mapped a little bit. Like there was like maybe a few people who had huge farms. Like all of Vallejo belonged to one guy at one time.
Pico, huh?
Yeah, all of Pico belonged to one guy at one time.
You know, it's funny. There's a Spaniard guy. His name was Pico, Pico, and that guy, he's Spaniard. He's a Spanish guy. I don't think he was ever. They say he's Mexican, but he was actually African American. By the way,
this guy's from L.A.
He's African American. This guy. He's actually black.
Really?
And this guy was from Spain. I don't know. People they try to hide his because of colorism, but he was actually like somebody who rose through the ranks as a black person from Spain. And this guy owned all of San Fernando, all of by Dodger Stadium, all of by LAX area, over there by fucking what is considered now Lancaster and in that area. That was all his land.
Okay.
And he sold parts of it piece by piece to people, but he owned everything, bro. Pico.
That's why there's so much.
Pico Boulevard is named after him.
After him. And then there's
Pico Garden, Pico Garden Projects, Pico Rivera is named after him.
There's a Pio Pico, I think, junior high or school that I used to live by when I was in Mid-City.
But there was all see how much land he had? You think he could control all that land from people hanging out?
Right. There's no trespassing and like barbed wire.
And there was no strong, Mexico did not have a strong northern army.
Right.
So which was, that's why all those places ended up being taken over by, never mind. Go ahead.
No, that's the thing is that's why you're actually getting into the right field here. And how, when we talked about how I wanted to start this, is exactly how I wanted to start this, was because they didn't have a strong home front there. They didn't have a lot of people guarding. They let these Americans who were.
And then Mexico was mostly Mexico was still fighting in southern Mexico, huh?
Right. Yeah. It was still, bro. That was the thing is
Pancho Villa. No,
you think of the American Revolution. We forget about the War of 1812, which was
1847.
Well, no, it was when
1812 was with Canada.
1812 was it's how Canada was acquired or something like that, but it was the English trying to get it back again.
Yeah.
Well, that happened multiple times in Mexico.
The British was taking over American ships and making them British, huh?
Right.
Making the whole ship British. Like,
right.
You're going to be all British citizens. And America was doing the same thing, too. They were grabbing ships and making everybody American citizens.
And now you're fighting our war.
Yeah.
And then automatically you make them traitors, which was
the year of the pirates back then.
Right. Yeah. And that's again our episodes will back up against each other. So you have this territory, this vast territory of Texas that Mexico really can't keep a handle on. So Americans are starting to settle there. Sam Houston's bringing his people in there. There's a guy named Steve Austin that's bringing his people in there. And they're like, great, you could settle. Mexico says, fine, you could settle here. We want you guys to keep the area clear. Also, make sure the Indians don't get out of control because there was a lot of Indian shit happening. And you have to be Catholic. And that's it. And you're Mexican citizens if you live here. And we welcome you, but please keep our borders.
We got big Indian territory, bro.
Huge. Look at that.
But they brought slaves, huh?
Well, they brought slaves.
And
Mexico did not want slaves. They had illegalized slaves. The other thing that this is still an issue to this day, that was an issue for the Texans.
They started using American money in that territory too, huh?
That
and
as well.
Mexico said, "What the fuck?"
That as well, but they had guns. Guns was a huge issue back then. Because Mexico had gun control. They didn't just have like fucking willy-nilly. Even now, Mexico has crazy gun control. But back then, it was like you can't have an unregistered firearm. If you have an unregistered firearm, and this goes back to the pirate stuff, you're considered a pirate. And if you're considered a pirate, the punishment is death. And so all these Texans were like, we don't fucking want to have to fucking register our firearms. We don't want to have to like be Catholics. We don't want to have to do all this stuff. You know what?
Get out of here then.
And so I left my notes in the car. I'm going to grab them in a minute. But I do remember that at the beginning, when this first happened, there was only 800 settlers. And then within 15 years, there was, I think it said about 8,000. And only 800 of them were Mexicans. The rest were American settlers taking up all these pieces of Texas.
During these times when these settlers were in Texas, the American settlers that were in Texas, it was not the safest place to be without a gun, though. So you're taking away an American's right to bear arms and now you have to go to a state where you can't have a gun because it's Mexico, and you got fucking pistoleros running around jacking fools, bro.
Right, yeah.
Like really, like, and you got Apaches, gang of Apaches,
right, yes.
robbing motherfuckers, and they're robbing white people. Right. And then you got like a fucking loose cowboys, white boy cowboys robbing motherfuckers, bro. Yeah. And you just a Texan settler. How you gonna tell me I can't have a gun when I got white people who are fucking cowboys robbing people? Right. You got fucking pistoleros, bandidos robbing people. Right. You got fucking willy-nilly robbing people. I can't have a gun now? Because fuck that. If I can't have a gun, I gotta have these slaves fighting with me.
Mexico's saying, look, you can have a gun, but
for hunting.
But you have to register it.
Yeah.
And we have to know that you have it. And every gun you have, we have to know that you have that. And of course, we all know, even to this day, fucking Texas doesn't like registering their weapons.
But they have to. It's funny how they kept that law in Texas, even though it was a Mexican law.
It was a Mexican law. There was a lot of things that transferred over, but that was the thing. Was like, you have these people now who are like outweighing, who are the majority of this area.
Yeah.
And they're saying, we don't want to follow your rules. We don't want to fucking do anything. And then a lot of these guys, too, when they first got there, they're religious lists. They're from other countries. Because we're not just talking about, like, American, good old fucking fancy Americans walking in. You know, America's a new country at this time, too. So you have a lot of settlers from
Germany,
Polish, Dutch,
Swiss,
that are going in, and they're single dudes that are not fucking... they're not. They have no allegiance to any country. They have no fucking loyalties. They don't have any real customs of their own.
They don't, man.
And no, nothing, bro. No culture. These are guys with like zero culture.
And they have accents.
And they're fucking all the Mexican women. And they're taking over. And they're fucking. And they're like settling. And then Mexico goes, we don't like slaves. I don't give a fuck. I have slaves. And the other thing is
not all of them have slaves, bro. Not all of them.
Not all of them had slaves, but a lot of them wanted slaves. That's why they liked it, because it was more land. And then also, I think in America there was a single production farm where it was like, I think there was a law that only allowed you to make one product, whereas like these guys in Mexico could have cotton, avocados, or whatever the fuck you wanted. And so it was a lot easier for these American guys to go into Mexico, settle, do all their fucked up, dirty shit that Mexico didn't want. And then at the same time, Mexico's fighting their own, you know, because like once Mexico does take hold and becomes its own country, you have everybody fighting for power.
Everybody fighting.
Everybody
that was involved with the revolution.
So there's
Porfirio Diaz.
Right, yeah.
So Porfirio Diaz, even though Porfirio Diaz later on in the future of Mexico, he was taken down by the forces of Emiliano Zapata, Hidalgo, and Pancho Villa. Porfirio Diaz, right there, man, he was a very decorated soldier during the revolution of the of Spain and Mexico. He's one of the he's unforgotten as the true leader of the Mexican Revolution, because later on he took power for 40 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. And when you talk about, like, you know, here in America we villainize Castro, and for good reason, because, and that's the thing, is it's sad because if you actually read Castro's story, originally Castro was a lawyer who wanted his people to be set free from the grips of American capitalism. And he started a revolution, and he did all the right shit, dude. And his whole goal was to put the people in power. But once he became into power, he was like, fuck that, because I can't hand over power to anybody, because power is going to be usurped by other people, and power is going to be abused by other people. So I might as well just stay in power, and Cuba stays in a state of revolution. Well, guess what? Now you're a fucking dictator, and you're a fucking corrupt power person. And this is what happens in Mexico as well, is that you get these guys that are like, I'm fighting for the people, but once they take hold, it's a whole different fucking game. They turn into a whole different animal, and then the other guy goes, fuck that, I'm going to kill. And then if you have a righteous guy, the non-righteous guy's going to come along and kill that guy and then take over. So you have all these people fighting for power at the same time, and meanwhile, all these Texans are taking over the territory. And Mexico doesn't know what to do.
And that's what Mexico was. I think they were part of France for a while too.
I don't know that. I didn't look into that, who owned those parts. You know, you might be right because you have Louisiana, you have the Louisiana Purchase, which was all French owned. And that was the other thing, is the reason why we were able to slip shit away from France was because Napoleon needed more money to wage his war, that his own personal wars that he had going on with France.
So Mexico is going through all this. United States is going through the manifest destiny, and then you have a lot of people immigrating into America at this time, like the early Irish people were showing up, and we talked about this in the gangs of New York when the Irish people were being handed a gun and a uniform and a piece of bread to go fight the Civil War.
Yes,
but this is prior to that. This is 1847, which is 20 years before the Civil War, right? 40.
No, this is right around. So we're talking about 1845 to 1852 is when the potato famine happened, right?
Yeah, remember we talked about that?
And then they're coming off the boats, and at the same time,
a lot of Irish people were fighting the war with America against Mexico and Texas around this time, and the Irish people were watching. They're realizing that they're fighting other Catholics, and these were hardcore Catholic. So one of the captains from the American side named John Riley, him and 200 soldiers of Swiss, Polish, German, some runaways, some free slaves, they joined they walked in to a Mexican army. And they put their guns down and they joined the Mexican army.
Right. Yeah, these are a lot of...
Carlos and the Santana made them their own battalion, which was called the San Patricios battalion.
Can I throw something in really quick?
Go ahead, bro.
So this thing stinks. This whole fucking revolution, something rotten in Denmark, because you have the United States also in turmoil because you have people that are called expansionists.
Yeah.
Who want to expand. And the reason why they want to is so they could have more land for slaves. And you have people who don't want that because like right now we're having a Republican Democrat war in this country. Back then it was a slave, no slavery war.
Yes.
And the more states, the more slave states, the more that these people would be outnumbered. So you have a conflict, and you have one president, Harrison, who's
at this time people don't realize that Mississippi and Alabama were the biggest states of the South. They're big. They haven't even broken them off. And the South, before the Civil War began, they kept expanding and adding new states with slavery. And the northern Republicans were saying, nah, man, no way, man. They're getting too many people. They're going to outnumber us in senators.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. And
then the Republicans were not expanding anymore because they wanted to keep that money tight in the north.
And Texas was such a huge portion.
And Missouri, too. They wanted to make Missouri a free, and Nevada a slave state, and California in the future.
Right. And the thing was with Texas, though, was that they could split it up into 3 different states. They were originally wanting to split it up into 3 different states.
Takes a car now.
So what you have is a president comes in who's not an expansionist. In 1841, his name was William Henry Harrison. This also backs up to another episode that we had, the one about the presidential security team. But what happens, and then this is where we learn this, is this president dies within a month. And again, I didn't think there was anything rotten about that because it made it seem like he had a natural cause. But when I looked into it, there were more nefarious things that might have been at play because his vice president, who he picked in order to get the slavery vote, was an expansionist. And his name was Polk. And he's the guy who sets off this whole fucking...
P-O-L-K?
Yeah, P-O-L-K. And he's the guy who sets off this whole thing. Even though he's not president at the time the war starts, he's the one who puts...
Was there an assassinated attempt on Polk?
Yes, there was. I do believe there was. I can't remember exactly, so
inside the White House, somebody tried to shoot him, right?
Right. I think that's...
And he lived.
Well, he's the reason why we have the Secret Service.
Yeah.
Because at the time, the President Harrison didn't want a Secret Service. He just wanted like a couple of bodyguards. But at the same time, they had this detail of Secret Service guys that were working with Polk. And Polk would kick it with them all the time. And I think when he almost had his assassination...
Oh, he was shot. Look.
Yeah, I can't remember, but then...
He was murdered, bro. No, he was shot. He was killed.
Okay, so then there you go. That's why. Then that's what we learned. I can't exactly remember. I learned so much every week that it's hard to hang on to certain pieces of knowledge. But Polk is an expansionist. And he's the one who originally sets Texas becoming a state in play for the next president to go on in and bring it in. And that's the thing is that what happens is that our territory of Texas, so originally these people in Texas want their own country and they have their own republic. It's actually why we have the Republic of California. It's the same group of people. So we have the Republic of California, the Republic of Texas, and there was one more I can't remember. But if you look at our flag, it has a star on it. That's the star of Texas. Because it was supposed to be that was our union with just those guys. But Texas decides to start their own state, and because they don't feel, they don't feel their shit aligns with Mexico. And then they're like, we have more people living here than you have Mexicans living here. So we're taking over. And they start to take over. They start battles and shit. And they lose 2 right away, which is the Alamo and Goliad. They make dude.
Who lost these battles? The San Patricios?
The Americans did. San Patricios haven't come into play yet.
Well.
So the Americans lose the Alamo and they lose Goliad. They completely fight to the death at Alamo. But when they get held up at Goliad, I think there's 40-something odd prisoners, and fucking Santa Anna is like, nah, kill them all. They have guns and they're not registered weapons. They're pirates. Murder all of them. So that's why you have remember the Alamo and remember Goliad always being.
Also, man, at the Alamo, a little shout out to my great uncle.
No way.
Who died at the Battle of the Alamo, Captain Gregorio Esparza.
And he was on the Mexican side?
On the Texas side.
On the Texas side.
But his father and 2 brothers were fighting for the Mexican side.
Oh, really? No shit. And see, that's the thing is that.
And when they burned everybody, they didn't burn his body, bro. They took his body and they buried him in Mexico. And later on, there was a big battle between a court battle between custody battle over getting his remains back to Texas. And Texas won, and they grabbed his remains and they put him back in Texas.
Really?
To honor him like a true American. Because his family just grabbed the body and took it back.
You could draw your name all the way back to that guy.
Yeah, man. If I go to the Alamo right now, I could see his name right there. And it says Gregorio Esparza.
Have you been to the Alamo?
Yeah.
What was it like?
You never forget it.
Never forget it. Okay.
You always remember it.
Oh my God, dude. Whatever. You got me, bro.
You know, it's funny, man. One time I was
got me. I was like, wait a minute, what?
I was getting high with a wait staff at the San Antonio River Center Comedy Club, which is by the Alamo, and I was getting high, and I asked the stupidest question to one of the wait staff, and I asked her, "Is San Antonio haunted?" She went at this, and you know how Texas people talk, bro, like the RGV. God. Are you fucking kidding me? There's fucking dead Mexicans all over the place. You never heard of a thing called the Alamo? and just started thinking about it, bro. Here's the Alamo. They fought on the way to this place.
Right.
So there's probably dead people all over the place.
All over the place, bro.
Like I'm standing probably over a dead person right now.
The Mexican-American War, or the War of, what did I call it? Intervention.
Yeah.
War of Intervention was one of the bloodiest wars of our past. Like, we fucking really got into it with these guys, and it was all over because, see, that's the thing is that a lot of America was like,
man,
fuck these people in Texas. They're violating Mexican laws.
On one side, on the Mexican side, they say, man, they came at us with everything. We fought back. on the American side, they were saying these motherfuckers were throwing huarachis at us, enchiladas.
They were making it seem like the Mexicans were inferior, and the Mexicans weren't. They were like
they were trained, huh?
Trained fighting force. There was they went.
They were fighting the same old school, huh? Where you line up and just shoot the other person, huh?
They were having skirmishes, and that's the thing is like
skirmishes, raza.
So you have you have a lot of people who are like, fuck Texas, they're breaking the law. That's Mexico's problem. That's not our problem. But you have Polk who's like, no, I want to expand. And so they start pushing expansionism, and they start like, and then they crack a deal with Texas, and they're saying, look, we'll annex you guys, but we got to put troops on your border. And so we go to put troops on the border of Texas. But at the time, our border went all the way up to just the, what is it? The Anasis River, I can't remember, but it wasn't the Rio Grande. It was way further north. And Nueces River was our original territory. And the president at the time of the United States put that territory all the way to the Rio Grande. He marched a bunch of troops all the way out to Corpus Christi. And so you have, now you have a standoff between Mexican military who are saying, this is our land. You're not even in original Texas now. You're now in our land. That's not even the proposed plan. Texas was up at all the way down to the Nueces River, but you're all the way here, and they don't know what to do. So they send a patrol to go fucking check them out, and they start, and this is where we don't know what happened. We know that Mexico fired the first shots, and even though the United States was in territory they weren't supposed to be in history sees it as Mexicans were the aggressors because they killed 11 American GIs. So this guy goes back. So they go back. The president goes, they just shot 11 of our soldiers in Mexico. Fuck that. We're going to war. And they declared war within a day, and they only had a half hour to discuss whether or not they wanted to go to war and all the reasons to go to war. Like, the president didn't give him no fucking room to do anything other than decide to go to war.
Mexico didn't have a president, huh? More like a dictator, huh? Santana?
At the time, yeah, they had a military leader. He was their president, and they really loved him. The thing with Santana was that he was
Spaniard.
He was a Spaniard, and he was pure blood Spaniard. He had no Mexican blood in him, but he was born
in Mexico yet, basically.
He was born in Mexico, and he started fighting for Spain, and then he turned and started fighting during the revolution. And then he helped whatever governments were in place. And every time they were like, well, you should be president. He's like, no, fuck that. I'll help you guys fight. There was a time where Mexico, I think it was like 2 years, where Mexico had an emperor. And he helped that emperor, but then he figured out...
He was a German emperor, huh?
And he killed that. Yeah, I don't know.
Sir Francis something.
I didn't look into that, but Mexico had an emperor for 2 years, and then they killed him off.
It was... I don't know, man, but he's the reason we have beer and Monterey Jack cheese.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've always had a relationship with the Germans as well in Mexico.
Always.
Okay, so that's all. Okay, so now we have...
Maximilian.
Oh, is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't look into any of this, so I don't know.
Maximilian is his name. That's why you get a paisa named Maximilian. You're like, what the fuck?
Well, that's the thing.
Dog.
Is we're gonna find out a lot of things here.
Look.
Why there's redheaded Mexicans? Why Ray had
He's German, right? Yeah, he came in, bro. Somebody gave him the land for some reason.
Right.
Austrian, bro.
Well, because at the time, also you have,
what year was he in charge?
See, yeah,
1864, 1867.
Very
Still
small,
not Mexico.
Small period of time.
Yeah, and he was and this is like this after Mexico lost. Mexico's still not really Mexico yet.
Right. And that's the thing is that
now we're talking 1847 right here.
And we're having, and that's the thing is like Santana is this guy who loves to fight, but he doesn't like to lead. But he has to lead because they love him. Like Mexico loves him.
He led a little Napoleon over here.
And they called him the Napoleon of the West. And that is so great. I love that. And that's the thing is actually, and this goes right into what Ray was asking me in the messages this morning, what about the candles? Why are all our candles named after Irish patrons? Because even before this war, people were coming into America that were Irish, and America was super Protestant. That's what we're about to get into. Is that we don't realize, because I never heard this, but America is super Protestant, hates fucking Catholic people at this time, which is the Gangs of New York era. And so all those people that are coming off,
they call them Papists.
Call them Papists, yeah. And they're
because they worship the Pope.
Right.
Supposedly.
It's a false god to them, and they're pissed. Bro, there's a lot of anger towards Catholics at this time.
Anger.
So a lot of Catholic people, Germans, Irish, Scottish, all these European people that are coming into America, but mostly Irish, are going into Mexico even before this war started, because it's not only Catholic friendly. By law in Mexico, you have to be Catholic. And so that was the thing too that the Texans had a problem with, is because Mexico was like, you have to be Catholic. And these guys were like, fuck no, we believe in Jesus, dog, and they're fucking. So anyway, that's why there's a lot of Irish stuff. That's why Louis C.K. has orange hair and is from Mexico. My grandfather looked like Louis C.K. when he was
also
younger.
Canelo.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot. Like, that's the thing, is that you don't.
So when did the Irish battalion join Mexico?
Okay. So now we're going into a few battles here. The war has started. A few battles have already raged on, and Irish.
Because this is what I read before when I first learned about the San Patricios, which was like 8 years ago. I learned about them, and there's a movie out there, bro, with Tom Berenger. I think.
Yes, yeah.
And
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, man, that movie hit him, bro. We should watch it.
I'm down to watch that.
Yeah, and it said that the Irish soldiers from America were already sneaking away in the middle of the night to go to church with the Mexicans at nighttime, in the daytime. So they'll join them in Sunday masses, and then like undercover, and they'll be in church with them, and they go, wait a minute, man. Here we are. We left the country where they hated us for being Catholic. Right. Now we're here fighting another people who are Catholic. What are we doing?
Who are being oppressed by a Protestant ruler from the north. The thing is there's that's almost all true except for
them going to church.
So no, they did go to church, but they were allowed to, because desertion was a big deal. The Mexican-American War to this day has the most desertions out of any other war. Because overall, you have all these people that are fighting almost immediately for a country that they enter, and are being treated like shit. Because all the officers, the generals, the sergeants, all these higher ups are like, fuck these fucking Catholic dogs. They're just Irish people might as well be Mexicans. That's to them how they thought. And if you read about anti-Irish propaganda in the U.S., they describe them as dogs sometimes. So you have these people who are like, fuck that, we're being treated like shit. We're going to church with these people in the daytime, and they're really nice to us, and they love us. So what the fuck are we doing? And to be honest
beans
with
and
you, potatoes.
To
give you a fair example, we're talking about maybe overall 700 soldiers who were Irish and deserted. That are from Ireland, that deserted the United States Army and became fighters, out of thousands of Irish people. So we're not talking about everybody did this. This is just a small portion of people that did this. But these guys would hear church bells. There's one story where they're about to attack this town, and then they start to hear church bells. And they're like, this is our home. And then all of a sudden artillery comes out of nowhere, because that's the one thing we admit to doing, is we bombed the fuck out of their churches. And so this church gets blown up in front of all these Irish soldiers. And apparently one of them is John Riley. And they're like, that's when it changes. That's when all this shit changes. And so these guys start fighting for Mexico. And again, this is where the United States is fucking dumb. And to this day, I do think to a certain extent, we're still this stupid, because these guys were from Ireland, have been fighting wars for decades.
They were part of the uprising, some of these guys.
They were part of the uprising. They fought for the British. They fought for the French. You know, like this is back in Europe where like you could go fight for anybody. That's why the French Foreign Legion is such a big deal. And this starts what originally is called the Mexican Foreign Legion. But these guys are fighters, bro. They're the fiercest fighters that the Mexican army had, because at the time the Mexican armies were used to fighting, but they were also dying and they were bringing in more people. These are people who survived some of the harshest shit just to get over here. And John Riley himself is a artillery specialist. Like we find out in his history that he has fought all these wars as a private, but the whole time he's gained knowledge of artillery, and he's an artillery expert. And that's what pisses off the Americans so much.
Yeah, John Riley's company was called an artillery company.
Right.
They knew how to shoot and fucking pull guns apart.
Well, they
made him lieutenant.
The thing that he would do was he would spot out the artillery that was bombing the Mexicans, and then he would bomb their artillery. And he knew exactly how to hit them, and like, I mean, he just decimated numbers for a while. But that's the thing, is that these guys were really good at what they did. Now we have like 3 key battles here. You have the Battle of Monterrey, the Battle of Buena Vista, and the Battle of Churubusco. And
Buena Vista, by the way, it's named after another general, and that's what Ventura is named after. It's named after that person, Buena Vista.
Right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that they're like, this is how new this country is they're naming shit right after someone dies. Like
exactly, bro.
Like they even have an award for a battle that happened like 2 months before. There's another name for the Battle of
I think his name was Buena Vista Ventura. What's the name of the guy, bro?
What was the other name for the Battle of Buena Vista? Angostura. So that's the thing. Again, here we have 2 different sides of history.
Well, the Battle of Crenshaw.
So you have the Battle of, we called it the Battle of Buena Vista here in America, but the Mexicans called it the Battle of Angostura. And this again is how stupid we are, because the battle actually happened in Angostura, which was like 5 miles from Buena Vista, but the Americans got the towns confused, so they just called it the Battle of Buena Vista. But that's our first taste of battle, and we lose all of these battles. Our Mexicans lose all these battles, by the way. But what we're seeing is how fierce a fighter they are, but also this is the first time that the San Patricios are fighting, and they do pretty well by themselves. You know, they keep us.
They took down a lot of people with only 200 soldiers, huh?
Bro, they took down so many people, so many. Like their first. That's the thing, is that this is where like America was like, oh fuck, dude, because we won that battle barely, and history will say the Americans won it, but it was really a stalemate, because the Mexicans didn't get by, but also the Americans didn't get what they want. But it also shows that like Mexicans aren't pussies. These guys aren't fucking, you know, even though they don't have as much technology and they don't have as much fighters, they're still a formidable fighting force, especially with this huge artillery brigade of the San Patricios sitting on top of this hill. And the San Patricios have this huge flag. It's a big green flag with the Mexican eagle on one side, and then on the other it has the Irish harp, and it says Erin Go Bra on the underneath it, which I think means,
which is the logo for Guinness.
Also a beer logo,
and their beer is called Harp beer.
Harp beer, yeah. So you have this brigade that's just taking
also that
out
logo,
guys
bro,
that are
with a little harp. And if you watch Braveheart, the Irish side, they're holding a flag with a little harp on it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you have now the Battle of Monterrey, which was next, and that was like a bit more. I'm sorry, that was the Battle of Monterrey. Then the Battle of Buena Vista is where they fucking lay down a ton more artillery. They take out a group by a bridge, but the significance of that is that the San Patricios also rescue a bunch of ammunition and 2 cannons, 2 6-pound cannons.
But back then they
Americas.
rescue it. They didn't steal it.
And this is the first time in U.S. history that we lose artillery to another side. And so, again, these guys have taken it. And then you have the Battle of Churubusco, which is kind of their ending. They fight valiantly, and this is the best story, man. Or this is the best story for them. Is they fight valiantly, and then at some point everybody runs out of ammunition. But the Irish have different type of guns. So when they kidnap and rescue another crate of ammunition, they're able to keep fighting during this battle. And they're all now Mexico's being surrounded in this monastery, and they're fighting these guys off. They run out of ammunition, and John Riley says, "Don't give up." And each time they run out of ammunition, shit happens. The Mexicans soldiers try to put up a white flag, and the Irish soldiers rip it down. They're like, "Nah, let's keep fucking fighting." And at some point, John Riley says, "Fight with your fucking hands and die." Like, because that's the thing is the Irish dudes were like, "We're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to kill us no matter what. So we need to keep fighting." And so they fought.
We're going to be like Custer. They're putting on a dress in the Alamo trying to hide.
Right. Fuck no, dude. And they fought to the point of where the American side didn't necessarily give up, but they were like, let's just put down the guns, stop fighting these guys, let them surrender. Because they couldn't, they were like, this general is watching these Irish dudes just fight with their hands, guys with guns and bayonets. And they're dying, but he's like, we're just killing these guys now. So they stop and they capture all these.
And they're white, so let's not kill them all.
They capture all these soldiers. And then during that time is when, again, this is a huge atrocity. This is what fucking U.S. fucks up, bro. Because we did not take, when we had deserters or guys that went to other sides, a lot of times we punished them, but we didn't give them death. Even though the punishment was death, it didn't serve our armies well to kill people like that. It didn't look good. And we had laws actually that had you had to have a trial in order to kill these people, in order to hang them, but none of that happened. None of these guys got a trial. None of these guys had any due process for themselves. And in fact, you had 9,000 deserters, only 51 of them were executed. All of them were San Patricios. And 2 of those San Patricios were released and let go, and that was John Riley and another guy.
You went back to live in Ireland, huh?
Right. No,
in Veracruz, huh?
Yeah, he went back to live in Mexico. And the thing is the only reason why they were let go was because they had left, what do you call it? What did I call it? They had abandoned the military before the war started. So that only gave them enough where they could punish them and keep them in a working camp with like a huge metal collar till the end of the war. But after the Battle of Churubusco,
they're honored in Mexico, aren't they?
They're honored in Mexico
as war heroes.
War heroes. And they have a monument. If you go back to that John Riley statue, so this is at the Museum of Intervention, is where they're honored, and that's in the town of Churubusco, which is, I think it's a little north of Mexico City. But the museum is dedicated to the war itself, but there's a lot of stuff about the San Patricios that, and there's the statue of John Riley. This guy came in, nobody. He didn't even speak Spanish. Basically. And he worked his way up through the ranks to all the way to major, which is a huge. And again, because like there's a lot of arguments, man, where they're like, one, here in the United States, we called them cowards forever, that they were afraid to fight. Well, if they were afraid to fight, then why were they fucking fighting so fiercely for the other side? And then the other thing is they were there for opportunity.
Mexico offered them land, though.
Mexico did offer them land,
and the United States didn't, probably.
But these guys were trustworthy. That's the thing, is that they were given the largest armament of of guns, of artillery. And in order to be entrusted with 16-pound guns, you have to be trusted. You can't nobody's going to just give 16-pound guns to a random battalion and be like, hey, protect us. Like, they sat at the highest hill, which was the best vantage point, and they laid down fire that blocked a lot of United States soldiers coming in. Yeah, go for it.
Only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And it was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And there amidst all these poor dying Catholics, screaming children to burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom tonight. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side.
So, bro, that is, that's pretty much their history in a nutshell. All this is so interesting because
I wonder how much of the culture of Irish stood in Mexico, because that's a lot, bro. Like redheads, freckles.
Right.
We have Mexico. The first time probably saw a native with freckles.
Right. That's the thing is we think that me and you, or people that are Mexicans now, have just Spanish blood.
I have 3% Irish, bro.
But you have we have Irish, we have German in us, because Mexico,
Polk.
We sit here, we go, oh, America, land of all these different countries and different people, which is great, dude. We are a melting pot. But Mexico was also a melting pot at the time because all these people were coming here being treated like shit, and Mexico was like, well, dude, if you're Catholic, come be with us.
You know, it's crazy when people say, well, they took it from Mexico. But it wasn't even in Mexico still yet, right?
Right, yeah.
It's not the Mexico now.
It's not the Mexico now. It was a brand new nation, Mexico. And it was like questionable. Like, if you think about right now, like Ukraine, which is kind of a new nation as well. It's not a new nation, but it was released from Russian territory only like 25 years ago. And that's like, and even though it was still a nation, to us it's fledgling. But you think about this whole brand new country, like, that has just started, and it came from like people fighting, and they're still fighting, and so they're not even getting their legs, and they're being attacked by other people, and to kind of close this off, we got to talk about manifest destiny again. I don't think we talked about that enough, which is what the term was used during this whole thing. Now you got to remember, because people were coming here, there was no loyalty to America. Even people who were living here, there was no loyalty to America. There was loyalty to Arkansas. There was loyalty to Virginia, Alabama. There was no
Charleston.
But what and again, this is a media campaign, and this is how the media gets you, is they started coining this phrase, manifest destiny, and underneath it was Anglo-American, and Anglo-American was like a new word. What the fuck does that mean? People of European descent coming to America. That's you guys. You're not Mexicans. You're not Irish trash. You're not this. You're these fucking great Americans, and you're going to go over there and you're going to fuck up these Mexicans. And then once we fuck them up, we're going to have all this territory, which is the Treaty of Hidalgo.
You know what I find strange now is that, we now live in this beautiful country of the United States of America, and right. we have a beautiful California, beautiful Texas, all these beautiful places. Why is the church still there though? Okay, you took California. Why do you let the Catholic? Why does the church still stand? But the people, all the houses around there, Get out of here.
Right.
But the church is still there.
Right.
Because you know why? The church is not owned by the representing country. It's owned by the Vatican. And the Vatican has a lot of money, I guess.
Yeah, the Vatican owns more property than anybody else in this world.
The church, a Catholic church is not like a church, a Protestant church or a Buddhist church or a Victory Outreach. A Catholic church is like a sovereign building, man.
Yes. It's
like if you're running if you're an immigrant and you want to hide in a church, they won't go in and grab you.
Well, they're not supposed to.
Well, they're not supposed to go in and grab you, and they won't go in and grab you. That's why all those Irish people were hiding inside that church in Gangster, New York.
Oh, that's right. Because you can find safe harbor in a church, and to this day, you can find safe harbor in a church. Because
because I always wonder, like, why, even though California belongs to America and beautiful California, why does the missions get to stay, like San Fernando Mission and San Gabriel Mission?
Yeah, because probably the Vatican was like, go ahead and remove our churches, we'll fuck you up. But we were bombing the churches in Mexico, so I don't know how that worked. But that's the thing, man, is like we fucked over Mexico. Imagine losing Texas oil and all the resources that are in Texas. California, gold, our agriculture. Dude, the agriculture alone in California, fuck gold. We talk about the gold rush. Gold rush doesn't even compare to what produce is brought to California. The reason why there's the sixth largest economy in the world, not in the country. California is the sixth largest economy. I think it's the fifth now. Sorry, the fifth largest economy in the world.
Also, we produce the most tortas in any other state.
Literally and figuratively. Right? Maybe more figuratively. But we love five. We're the fifth largest economy.
In the world?
In the world.
And then people are talking about
it's because of produce.
And then people say that people are leaving America. Yeah, bro, they're leaving, but the money's staying there.
Right. We have Silicon Valley, produce, the fucking fuck whatever you say about media or whatever, movies.
They can't
the movie industry, the entertainment industry controls everything. You're watching the entertainment industry right now, you know, and that's how much. So like, yeah, look at our fucking beautiful state and what we do.
We kick ass.
We kick ass here, guys. So
California, man. I used to have this bit, bro. When California was in debt, when Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, when he was governor, we were in debt. I had this joke about I figure out how to get California out of the debt. We'll start a war with our neighboring states.
Yeah.
And we'll start a big war like California trying to secede. And then after they beat our asses, we'll ask for foreign aid.
That's how it works, bro.
And then we'll get money back to rebuild.
Look at Japan. Dude,
and then we just become a regular state like we were already with funding now.
Right, yeah. That's kind of how it started, though. That is kind of...
Yeah.
Because California, not as long as Texas. Texas enjoyed 9 years of sovereignty. California, I think, was like maybe like 9 months or something. We had our own government. We had our own country here for a minute. And it fell apart. But if you look at the California flag and you see the star on the California state flag, that is because Texans who started their country came to California to start another country. And that star on California's flag represents Texas.
How about the bear? Russian Armenians?
The bear represents, I think it just represents because we had a ton of grizzlies here before we killed them all off. But we were called the Bear Star Republic, is what the name of our country was before.
I thought it was started by brown people. That's why the bears there.
big old burly gay Mexicans. A brown. What did it say? A brown grizzly bear, a symbol of strength and independence, is depicted on the center walking on a patch of green grass. But yeah, so that's the thing is that. You know, we sit here and we fight with Texas. I think Californians and Texans have the biggest rivalry. I don't know. Maybe I just feel that because I'm in California. and we talk shit about them. And when I go to Texas, they love talking shit about it. I love going to Texas because let me just say this. First of all, shout out, much love to the people of Texas. Del Rio, Corpus Christi, McAllen. Dude, you guys give us the most love. Whenever I go on the road with Felipe, it's enormous. But the thing I love the best is they're like, we love you, but fuck, bro, why do you got to be from California? There's so much shit talking on California. But guess what, guys? We're brethren. We are from the same cloth. Our freedom, the reason why we're crazy and why we love our state is the same reason why you guys are crazy and love your state. Because we were the first groups of people to be like, fuck this whole thing. We just want to be our own country. We're independent people. So as much as we fight with Texas people, nah, man, we share a love of independence.
Yeah, man. History for Foos. Thank you, everybody who came to go see me and who saw me. I'll be coming to Austin, Texas, man. I'm going to be at the Moody Theater. Also, man, shout out to Concrete Live. He has joined our show, April, and with Paul Rodriguez, Nate Jackson, Rose Sanchez, and Easy Band. Also, Concrete Live on the show.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. What's up? History for Fools.
History for Fools, man.
Also, man, don't forget, man, to leave lots of comments on our list. If you like this show to continue, share it, subscribe, leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Chat on the chat. Go follow Butch Escobar. What's your Venmo?
My Venmo's at Butch Escobar.
Send them $5, man.
Yeah,
if you like it, send them $5.
I promise you, if you send me money, it will go towards the research because I spend my own money on this research. I got my own books. I use Audible and I buy books off of Amazon, and I pay for my Audible subscription and I pay for the books. I do all the research myself.
Can you look up before we leave the Panic of 18-something real fast? The Panic of 18. I don't know what year it is. 1837? 1837. Okay. This is the Panic of 1837, okay? Right here, that's officially the first, our first, when, you know, what is that thing?
Recession?
Recession, right there. We went to bankrupt. For some reason, there was too much cotton at one time, and nobody was paying their debts to the people that were giving us our cotton. It started off in Britain, and then little by little, bro, there was just too many cotton going down.
We're gonna make them pay for their cotton.
Yeah, it was exactly one of those.
We're gonna make them pay. And, nobody's gonna pay like they're gonna pay.
It was a great. It's not considered our first Great Depression, but the Panic of 1837 was actually our biggest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our biggest depression before the depression of 1900-something that happened later on. But anyways, that depression right there it fucked everything up. That's why I think they started expanding to make more cotton fields and to kind of to the point where we don't have to go ship it. Because people were not paying debts, bro.
Right. Okay.
So we overproduced. That was a big. We'll talk about the Panic of 1837 in the future. History for Fools.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Good day.
Because I was telling